Let's speak now to Zikhona Ndlebe, a senior researcher at Judges Matter now. Zikhona, let's get your immediate reaction then to what you've just heard there, perhaps by the judge.
Thank you for having me. We definitely welcome the apology by Judge Mokgoatlheng, and we believe that it's important for judicial officers, judges, magistrates to acknowledge when they are in the wrong and tender an apology, because that on its own speaks volumes about the kind of judicial officer the person is. And it also prevents complaints being laid against judicial officers when it's not necessary. So we definitely welcome the apology by the judge, and we are happy that he has tendered his apology.
Does this go to some sense of credibility of his as well, to try and remain impartial? Because one might say to themselves, well, I don't think this judge then would actually have a fair sense of Mr. Mnisi as well here, because it was the outburst that he had against him initially. You remember when he needed more time in order to get more data on this case, and now it's this, etc. I mean, the advocate himself may feel targeted.
Well, I think that would be a subjective view of the advocate, but from our standpoint, we do not think that should be the perception of the judge. The judge has apologized. Yes, he had an outburst in court, and it was not the first time. The first time last year in March, he did apologize, and now he has apologized. So what we're hoping for is that there will be no more outbursts in the case and that the case will run smoothly. But as the judge has said, if any of the advocates that are in the matter representing the accused in the matter feel that the judge is biased, or there would be a perception of bias, they can bring an application for his recusal, for him to recuse himself. So that is an option that the judge has also given to the advocate. So that also speaks to the credibility of the judge. He has seen that he has done something wrong, and he has apologized for it. So we really don't think that any of the advocates should feel targeted by the judge, and especially considering that.
No, please continue. Sorry, I thought you were done. My apologies.
I was going to say, especially considering that the Senzo Meyiwa case has been running for years, and all those involved in the case are definitely frustrated. So also considering that, we don't think that any of the advocates should feel targeted by the judge.
So are there mechanisms in place to assist judges in cases that are long-standing like this, where complaint after complaint could be held, they go on for lengthy periods of time, and ultimately they still need to remain impartial. They still need to be the calm heads in the court case, as it were, then as well. They need to be the calm heads in the courtroom. What mechanisms are in place to ensure that that continues to be at play and happens?
Well, I wouldn't say that there are any specific mechanisms that are in place, but as we heard from the judge at the beginning of his apology, he's been on the bench for decades. He's been an attorney in practice prior to that for decades. So when you become a judge, you're already trained to remain impartial, to remain level-headed, to be unbiased, and to ensure that you deal with matters that are before you properly in terms of the code of conduct. So there are no specific mechanisms, but the training of lawyers, advocates, attorneys, and judges prepares one to remain impartial and level-headed.
Yeah, so in your sense then, the reprimand, the public apology, enough then to restore public trust in the judge and how the court case will fare?
Definitely. I think it's very important that when one, as I've said, when one has seen that they've made a mistake or they've uttered words that are uncalled for, unnecessary, racist, with racist undertones, they do apologize for those. So we do think that an apology at this point should suffice, and that none of the advocates should feel that the judge will be biased against them. We would say it would definitely be something different if the judge had not apologized and had maintained the comments that he had made last week.
Yeah. Racial sensitivity, should there be a kind of training on something like that then for judges? only because it could impact and affect different people in different ways. And while one may think, oh no, this wasn't as harsh, somebody else may see it differently.
No, definitely what the judge had said on last week on Thursday, it was harsh. It was uncalled for, as we've said before. It was uncalled for, it was unnecessary, and we don't think that there's anything that should warrant such comments, especially comments of that nature coming from a person sitting on the bench, especially also considering our history in South Africa. So definitely judges do, there's SAJE, and that provides training for judicial officers. But we do, as Judges Matter, always encourage judges and magistrates, judicial officers, to undergo sensitivity training where they are sensitized to the issues that they might not be aware of. So we do believe that such trainings should continue. SAJE should continue such trainings, and any other trainings of that nature that are available, judicial officers should undertake them.
Yeah, I mean, because my big concern as well, I suppose, at this point would be what this means to anybody looking to be a judge, younger people in judicial officers who are looking at a scenario like this and wondering whether that is the conduct that ultimately is okay, especially for somebody who's been on the bench for as long as he has.
Well, I think we must also, at this point, not generalize the conduct of Judge Mokgoatlheng to mean that is the conduct of all judges, because that is not the case. And as he said, it's not the kind of person that he is. So the conduct of judges is definitely not what we saw last week or what we saw last year in March when there was the first comment by Judge Mokgoatlheng. And anyone who would want to join the bench should not generalize the conduct of judges to be similar to what we saw last week. So we definitely don't think that Judge Mokgoatlheng's comments last week depict the views of the judiciary. I think it would be amiss for anyone to think like that.
Yeah. Just very finally, how can judges maintain their sense of impartiality, their fairness, while also taking into account that socio-political context, or just the social context in which South Africa operates in?
So judges are meant to deal with cases that come before them, all judicial officers. So, for example, with the comments that were made last week, the judge just went too far. When the advocate made the request to be excused, yes, the advocate was in the wrong because it was so late. He could have made the request weeks before, but he didn't do that. But the judge went too far because he made the comments, and it was not necessary for him to make those racial comments at that point. Yes, and especially considering that he had declined the request in any event. So it is important for judges and all judicial officers to deal with cases or matters that are before them impartially and always remain level-headed. Yes, there are frustrations. The matter has been going on for years, and there have been various requests from the advocates. But again, as I've said before, that does not warrant comments with racial undertones.
Yeah.
And as Judges Matter, we definitely welcome the apology, and we are hoping that there will not be any further outbursts. Yeah.
This is a very interesting scenario, I think, as well, then, and in the tossing and turning of this case as it continues to develop. Zikhona Ndlebe, thank you so much for all the time. Really appreciate it, then. Thank you so much for joining us and just sharing a sense of things, then, and how exactly they've been working in and around this day. Zikhona Ndlebe is a senior researcher at Judges Matter.